in communication with Southern California, KHJ-TV Public Affairs presents Teen Talk. Studies show that teens begin sexual activity at the average age of 16. Approximately 50% of all teens use no contraception when beginning sexual activity. More than half of all teenage pregnancies occur within 6 months of first intercourse. Over 300,000 teen pregnancies could be prevented with proper contraceptive usage.
When I was a kid and wanted to buy a contraceptive, it required pep talks from my buddies, a trip to another neighborhood, and every ounce of nerve on my part to approach the pharmacist. The other day, while shopping in a drugstore, I noticed the contraceptives visibly displayed right next to the candy counter. Oh, Henrys and Trojans, what a twosome. I'm Joe Feinstein, and today on Teen Talk, we've invited a panel to discuss contraceptives. They're as easy to buy as candy, yet last year there was still 1.5 million teen pregnancies in the United States. We've also invited our friend Karen Cooley, who's here from the Community Health Center in Kern County,
on contraception.
to join us in a discussion.
A panel discussion with host Joe Feinstein on the subject of contraception.
Why don't young people buy contraception and use contraception if it's so easy to obtain? Carlos?
I think the real reason is that people are really embarrassed about it. I don't think they've really been exposed to the fact that it is a good idea to use contraceptives. And it ends up that a lot of people just go to the pharmacist and then they just go away because they're just too embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And maybe a good suggestion would be maybe a mail order or something, so they don't have to face anyone.
That is a very definite possibility, and they do mail orders in several of the magazines, but I'm not going to be out there encouraging you to read those magazines necessarily. Right. Why don't you think people are using them or obtaining them?
Again, I think it's embarrassment mostly. People go into the place and they look at the pharmacist, and it has to be the right type of pharmacist. You can't have a lady pharmacist because then she might giggle, even though the lady would probably be more understanding than a guy would. But there's nothing wrong with it, but still people, it's horrible for them.
Do you ever go into a pharmacy and ask for, contraceptives?
Well, that's mainly the place where you buy them. Yeah.
Do you do it?
Yes.
Yes? She said blushingly.
I don't have to ask, I just hand them a prescription.
I see. Okay, so you hand the prescription to the pharmacist and you get it back. Karen, as our resident sexpert, if you will, here from the Clinica Sierra Vista, tell us something about why don't kids, what's going on here with this whole business of contraception?
Part of it is very much what everybody was talking about already, being embarrassed, not knowing where all you can go. Everybody assumes that people know where they can go to get contraceptives, and you don't have to go to a pharmacy and spend $15 for 1 month's supply of pills. That it is possible to get less expensive contraceptives, although maybe not as expensive or not as effective. Or you can go to family planning clinics where they are free or reduced cost. Also, there's that whole sense of not wanting to plan for sex. If one's beginning to be sexually active, if you haven't really had the sexual relationship yet with a partner, who wants to be the first one to actually say, well, I think it's coming, so I'll get some contraceptives just in case. It's like, oh dear, I'm not going to be the one who takes the plunge, makes that first step. So that too, I think, has a lot to do with it.
So there's a responsibility factor. You guys are all older. I purposely invited an older panel of teenagers to be here with us so that you represent 18 and 19-year-old people, and you're essentially men and women, each of you. And I'm wondering, what is the contraceptive of choice and of preference that you might be buying or using? Nina?
Previously, I had used a diaphragm, and that was big with a lot of people. Mostly, I find it's with the pill that most people use because it's easy and it's kind of convenient. Rarely do I find people using Trojans and foam. But that's just the people that I'm in touch with. It's mainly the pill.
And what about you?
Well, I personally like it when my partner, whoever it may be, is on the pill. I find that most convenient. But if that's not the case, I'll use a condom.
You will use a condom?
Yeah.
You'll be there prepared to have one available and with you?
Well, I don't carry one on me all the time. If I don't have one and there is no means of contraceptive, available, then I will not take the risk.
There's a new form called Today. It's a sponge. You want to tell us about it? I know
Yeah,
you got
I even
one there.
have one here. I think this is one of the greatest breakthroughs in contraception because it's over-the-counter, relatively inexpensive. You don't have to have a prescription, no age barrier, safe as far as we know, and about as effective as other barrier methods, meaning the diaphragm, foam and condoms. Looks like this, one size fits all. You don't have to be fitted for it by the doctor. You can leave it in for 24 hours, and that's one reason a lot of people don't like the diaphragm or foam. There's time limits involved, and you have to use them at the time of intercourse, and that can be a hassle. And this can be put in, 24 hours before. You don't have to add anything extra, anything new for each active intercourse, and it's soft, feels like body tissue. It's got spermicide in it, kills sperm on contact, so it kills them and ideally kills them dead, and ideally then you don't get pregnant. Has a little
They check in,
thing
but
for
they
a
don't
little-
check out.
That's right. Just like this and die.
What's the percentage of protection on that?
About 80%, which the pill, for example, is about 99, so it's highly effective. But foam by itself is about 70, 75, so 85. And again, if you use it correctly, use it every time, you get a pretty good chance that this is going to work real well for you.
Yeah. Dr. Saul Gordon has written a book called You. He's professor of sex education at Syracuse University and one of my very favorite people. He said, all too often, teenage girls wind up facing sexual relations, not only whether their parents like it or not, but whether they like it or not. How do you feel about that kind of situation? Phyllis?
I don't think that's necessarily true. Girls, they have a feel for a guy when they're going to go out with him, whether what he's going to do, and they should be prepared. I feel it's a lot of the girl's responsibility, since she has the definite yes or no in the situation.
You feel she is really responsible for the definite yes or no?
Yes, she's ultimately responsible, whether she's going to or not.
Okay, Nina is other resident young lady.
I feel that
Should the kids do it? Should the girl be responsible for this whole part of the sexual togetherness, or is a girl?
I think it is. It's both ways, but when it comes down to it, the girl does have the right to say yes or no, and so she does have the choice. But I think it's a responsibility that should be carried for both of them.
Okay. All right, we're gonna create a situation here, gang. You're out on a date with your favorite young lady or gentleman, and you've decided that the romance of the night is just too much. You love him, you love her, you're really turned on, and you've decided to engage in sex. And you're deciding to make love, except for the fact that neither you nor she has contraception of any sort. It's too late to go to a pharmacy, they're all closed, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. What do you do? Matt, what do you do?
Bang. I'm not quite sure. It depends on the situation. Normally, I would just assume do without, because one thing you really don't want to be caught in is the little phone call from your girlfriend saying, "You're a father," and well, so usually I would not do it unless there's got to be a 24-hour place open somewhere, and just go cruising down the street for a while until you find something.
The 7-Elevens are all closed. It's a special night.
Never 7-Eleven's closed.
Yes. What do you do, Carlos?
I think that's probably the main reason there's so much pregnancies is that people are up for it. They're all psyched up and they're emotional about it. So they just do it and they just go ahead without it without really thinking about it. And it's also that peer pressure because, they want to do it.
What do you do, Carlos? Do you have sex and make love, or do
No,
you say no way?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Really?
There's too much risk involved, yeah. Definitely.
What do you do, Alex?
Well, it's tempting, but I don't either because it's too much risk involved and there's too much hassle afterwards if something happens.
For 1.5 million
not worth it.
teenage girls, that is not something that they're thinking about. They're still experiencing sex and they're making babies. And I'm wondering what's going on.
There's a real feeling of it's not going to happen to me, or just this one time. You know, I mean, I hate to even admit this, but I have done that myself. Gone, you know, sat there in my real quick calculator head, figuring out, you know, when's the fertile time? Is it okay? And if nothing else, there's a morning after pill tomorrow. And I do that, you know. Oh, okay. You know, but that still involves.
We're getting a real confession here.
But it still involves a lot of responsible decision making. You know, knowing your body. I didn't know that at 16. You know, at 34, I know a whole lot better about how it works. And I think what happens for most kids is, if they go ahead, I'll do it this once, and it can't happen to me. You know, nobody gets pregnant one time they don't use contraception, but of course they do.
In 1980, the Surgeon General said, and I quote, "If sexually active young people were to use some form of contraception regularly, premarital pregnancy would drop 300,000 in number a year." 300,000 a year. Do you agree or disagree? Yeah?
I agree.
Why do you feel that way?
That if they were using contraception, it wouldn't happen, because that's how you get pregnant if you don't use contraception, obviously.
And are you okay about that yourself, Phyllis? Would you not engage in sex unless you could have contraception?
No, I confess too. And you do feel like it's not going to happen to you, and just once, you know, we'll be fine. And that does happen
And
with a lot of people I know too.
And a lot of people you know too. And were you frightened after making love?
You're very frightened.
But it didn't stop you.
No,
Why didn't it stop you?
just for that feeling that it's not going to happen to me.
It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to you, man? No, it won't happen to you.
No, true. Well, we can go again with the confessions. And my second time, and very inexperienced at the time, and she said, "Oh no, there's nothing to worry about." And we sat there for quite some time afterwards, worrying about it, until one day she finally called and said, "Oh, I got my period," and it's just like something is being lifted off your shoulders, and that something shouldn't have to be there.
Is there a possibility that maybe just saying no might be the answer for all of this kind of issue and all this kind of dilemma? Just saying no, Nina?
Yes, but most people don't, for fear that the person isn't going to like them, and they're kind of, you know, they feel obligated to, whether they have protection or not. I have, you know, personally, and, you know, it's fright, you know, you're scared, you don't want to, you know, not be cool or, you know, whatever.
Can you say no, Carlos?
Yes, I can. Because I've had a lot of friends and a lot of experiences personally from friends that I know that tell me, you know, that they had this and that, and I just learn from them that there's so much risk, and your whole life is up to that decision, whether saying no.
Karen, I'm wondering, do we provide enough sex education in the schools? Should we begin sooner or later, or what do you think about this whole area?
I think definitely we do not provide enough in the schools. It's usually introduced in senior high school, which is way beyond the time people are being sexually active. It's out of context. We don't talk about relationships, decision making, any of those other kinds of things. It's, you know, just straight physical facts. These are the methods, this is how they work. Maybe you get it once or twice in a class. There's no way to integrate the information. I think you really need to start when your kids are babies, teaching them the right names for their body parts so that you at least build a foundation, so later as they grow up, you're at least speaking the same language.
And maybe some of that embarrassment that we spoke about at the top of the show would be eliminated, because all of a sudden it would be such a normal part of the routine to take protection and use protection so that we don't make unwanted babies at a time. There's a whole other school of thought which says that maybe we shouldn't be having sex at such early ages either. And maybe this is that this is a growing up process that's just too soon, too much, too fast. And that maybe you guys really don't know what love is about because you've started making love at a very tender age when it may not be a good idea. Did you talk about this kind of thing with your parents? Did you talk about this with your parents, Matt?
Yeah, it came up essentially when at the same time we needed the parents to sign the permission slip that you could have the thing. And I told
You
my
mean that we could have discussion of this
discussion
in school?
sex. And I told my mother that I thought that the films that you got the little sperm and the little leisure suits with the little goggles and the glasses, and they're jogging along away to the egg.
Yeah,
And
Woody Allen is the definitive person in terms of sperm. Yes, go ahead.
And so she explained to me that that's not exactly how you did it. And at one point, I figured that you got pregnant by kissing and a little sperm ran through your mouth. But I didn't think that the school, they didn't give enough information on it. So my mother then filled me in on all the good detail.
She did. She did. You have that wry smile on your face, Matt, again. Alex, how did you get the information passed along to you? Did you talk about it with your parents?
Yeah, eventually. It took a while. You know, it was actually me confronting them with it, not them confronting me with it. And it was a matter of me asking, and that took a lot of guts. And
a lot of guts to talk about something as normal and as natural as,
it was more being afraid as to the way they'd react to me, whether it would be anger or surprise or joy. I really didn't know. That's what I was afraid of.
Yes, that's exactly. My father did approach the subject with a great deal of anger and hostility and told me never to open my mouth and talk about these things in front of him because he was so afraid and so, I guess, ignorant also of what to say. So let's say it's now 20 years later and your 10, 12, 13-year-old kid comes up to you and says, Mommy, what's about birth control? Or do you go up to her and say, I have something I want to talk about with you?
I would definitely confront my children from a very early age. I think that if parents made it easier for their kids to come to them, that there wouldn't be as much, of a hassle as there is with getting pregnant and having, you feel like you have to sneak around or something.
Really? Have you started? You have a 6-year-old. You started already?
Oh, from the time he was a newborn, he learned the right names for all the body parts instead of little cutesy names, which is a lot of people do for their kids. And by the time he was 2, he'd notice when he saw a pregnant woman that she looked different and would ask what was going on. And I'd say, there's a baby growing in her uterus. Well, how does it get out? Comes out through the vagina. What's that like? It's like a tunnel, I mean, they don't want to know the big question at 2 years of age, but when they ask the big question later on, you aren't going to have to go, oh, God, no, now what do I do? Because, again, you've been building a foundation up till then, and it's not like out of the blue. There's no...
So it's a little bit of information at each particular stage of a person's development, what they can handle.
Right.
What's a good book at the initial stages that might be, for this kind of subject?
There's a nice one called Where Do I Come From by Peter Mall, and I like that one real well. And there's a good one for girls and boys, prepubescent, called Period, which deals with menstruation and body changes, puberty. There are a number of nice little stories about, that incorporate the making love and loving aspect into it and not just the physiology of how our baby's born.
When you're with your girlfriend, Carlos, can you sit down and talk with her about birth control and taking precaution and so forth, or is that a little too embarrassing?
That's a good question because I've had that problem where sex has got to be too important issue and that our relationship started really deteriorating because of that. And you hardly see each other, so you want to have sex, and you don't get a chance to talk, and it never comes about. So I realized that, we both realized it, and we stopped for a long time, and I decided, we decided it's time to talk.
There is a time to talk.
Right.
And you
that
spoke...
that should be the initial thing to do is talk first.
Talk first.
Right.
Definitely talk before you get started, because if you don't have a set plan, eventually it's going to get to a very awkward moment, and neither one of you are going to know what to do. And it's always best if you sit there, because if you're going out with a girl, you should have an open enough relationship. And communication is, you really need to talk it out, because if you don't, you might end up being a father.
We don't want to celebrate Happy Father's Day any time ahead of that time. And Nina, what would you like to say about this thing? Do you talk about it with your boyfriend?
Some I have and some I haven't, and I find that the guys that I do talk about it, I feel a lot closer with, and I feel really care, you know, because they care about asking, and you know, some of it just because they don't want to be a father, but I think it's farther than that. I think it's, you know, that they really care about you and your body and what's going on.
Sex information and sex education does begin at home. Your parents are the role models. They demonstrate by their body language and by the way they speak whether or not sex is something to be treasured and okay and enjoyable, or taboo and verboten. But no matter what your parents may say or what attitudes have been influenced by, you still maintain the responsibility for your own body. 2 books to recommend: You by Dr. Saul Gordon, and the wonderful book Mom, I'm Pregnant by Rennie Witt. Also, if you're interested in participating on Teen Talk, send us a picture of yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself and the topics you'd like to talk about, and send that to Teen Talk, care of KHJ-TV, 5515 Melrose Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90038. Panel, I can't begin to tell you how much light you've shed on a topic that heretofore is really calm and quiet and put down and not really discussed. This is Joe Feinstein for Teen Talk saying we'll see you very, very soon.